Okay, so welcome to the goal setting for July 2022. So we are going to kick off with our first questions. So have a look, either write them on a piece of paper if you haven't downloaded your workbook, download your workbook. We are having a new workbook printed as well, which is going to have some slight differences to it. So wait for that. But in the meantime, goal setting, whatever. And I think a better way, the name is going to change to reviewing your business plan. Because on a monthly basis, if you review your business plan that you came into the Visible Club with your first ideas, and whilst they may change, whilst those business ideas and even some of the first ideas we had may change, if you spend each month reviewing how closely on track you are, you will, whether you course correct certain areas or not, you will start to build the business that you want to build. That is a given. Many people like the idea of going with the flow, and I think there is nothing incongruous between allowing inspiration to come in, but there is also a complete congruency with putting a plan in place, because until inspiration strikes, what are you going to do every day when you sit at the computer? Are you going to know what you're doing and what needs to be worked through so that you can work through those things yourself? Or are we just going to wait and do nothing and wait for inspiration? I have done both, and I will tell you there is room for both. But when inspiration does not strike, getting on with building your business does actually work. And there are some business basics, there are some nuts and bolts, and we are going to start July looking back at June and looking at what worked and what didn't, without any sense of self judgment at all. So we've got a couple of questions to start with. What have you achieved or completed in the last month, and what key lessons have you learned? So take a couple of minutes to just write that down. And we're also going to look at the last question. What obstacles came up that you hadn't foreseen? And then we'll do a little bit of sharing. Okay, let's stop share a second. Okay, I'm making notes. Okay, answering questions. So take a little bit of an inventory of it, and just for a second, have a look at what you are writing and what really comes up for you with that. And then we'll go on to the next questions. So the next question will be, how did that challenge you? How did those obstacles, from what you've seen about obstacles you hadn't foreseen? So I'll share a couple of mine. For instance, I had written I felt really, really positive and strong at the beginning of June as to certain things that I wanted to achieve, almost like when you get the energy that all of those things are just going to kind of fly. And what I found throughout June was that there were some things that needed to be let go of in order to actually go at a new level and a new pace. I had no idea that there was some things that I was paying for and some services that really no longer served me, but I didn't know what to do with them. I almost felt like obligated. And it took several weeks in June for me to make the decision to go, I need to stop this. And because I knew as soon as I stopped certain things, there was going to be a bit of a kickback, and remove a couple of toxic relationships, because who you are surrounding yourself with in your journey is absolutely vital for your mindset inability to do it. So I didn't realize how weighed down I was actually feeling. And when you put new goals and new aspirations, when you are weighed down with a bunch of other thinking, it's like trying to go through glue to get those things working. And I suddenly really realized that there was certain, if I want to run faster, I have got, or move in a different way, I have got to let go of something. And it was interesting because obstacles for me were tighter boundaries, removing certain people in my life, adding self-care in at a level that I had not done before, and realizing that because business problems are generally personal problems showing up in our business, that all the strategy in the world isn't going to make a difference when there is a bunch of things weighing you down, or that you need to shift, and you need to shift the environment, and you need to shift the energy. And one of the biggest things that I put, and it actually was about clearing my desk and clearing something up in from June to July. What I didn't realize is what actually needed the clearing. I thought it was one thing, but actually it needed to be something completely different. And sometimes that's what we find. So have a little think about, oops, I need to go there. It's kind of zipped forward a lot. Hang on. So what have you learned? What's come up that hasn't been seen? How did that challenge you? And is there anything else that you felt held you back from achieving your project? So just take a little time to fill that in. Okay, so just to help those of you who are listening to it, we all get challenged. One of the questions was, Angela, how on earth do you get challenged? Like, as if I'm not a mere mortal. Some of the things that challenged me last month was actually, when I look back over the previous month's goal setting, is I wanted to have a good home atmosphere. What's kind of interesting is how that's created itself is we're getting a dog. But what happened was there were things showing up. I've just written down here, sometimes it's easier to beat yourself up than it is to move past your fear into a new type of action and a new environment. Sometimes even beating ourselves up and self-judgment is an interesting habit. And it felt that there was a stuck energy in me weighing me down, and I couldn't really get to the grips of it. There was just lots of thinking continually. And actually sitting at your desk doesn't actually constitute working. I'm just going to say that. Things that held me back were my fear. I wanted a good home atmosphere. I didn't realise what was going to walk into our lives was, excuse me, sneezing, was a cat that we had to look after for 24 hours. Oh, hay fever. A cat we had to look after for 24 hours turned into an insight that I would never have realised I needed. That was that the way to deal with the cancer situation for us as a family was to actually not focus on it. And sometimes it's really easy to try and think yourself out of the problem, but you just get into more thinking. But to completely cut off or to change the atmosphere or to change the dynamic of the environment has an innate way of suddenly just segmenting your mind. And when you move from one thing to the next, you're just not thinking about the thing anymore. When we had the cat for 24 hours, we were not thinking about cancer. We were not thinking about symptoms. We were not thinking about anything other than this cat. And I had a huge insight as to what we needed in our family dynamic moving forward. And I couldn't have planned for that, but I did put it in that goal setting was I want to have a good home atmosphere. And life answered that. So there's a beautiful way that these things coexist together. So things like then fear of energy levels, and realizing that sometimes we say things, I can't do that because I need to do this before, and those rules and preconditions that we all put over everything. It's taken me 3 weeks, taken me basically all of June to get out, to kind of see that and get out of my own way. So the things that I put on there was it was only when it took several weeks for me to understand, and actually having come through a PTSD experience back in 2008 when I had a car crash, I understand what the mind does when it has a loop at different levels. And suddenly I understood that what I was experiencing without me realizing it is from our personal situation last year when we had so much trauma going on with nearly losing my husband. I was in a loop and I couldn't move on. And I understood the difference. It was like, okay, there is a PTSD level of thinking experience going on, that you haven't moved past the past yet. For some reason, you haven't moved on. Your business can't do what it needs to do until you create an environment where that can be talked through, supported, understood. So I made the best business decision this morning was actually hooking up with a psychiatrist or a psychologist in the cancer centre deliberately. And in the moment of that, it's as if you have made space for the next environment in your business, and it's going to be different for every single person. But the biggest thing for solopreneurs is we tend to get more caught in thinking and battle alone, because we go, well, I know it's thinking, but that isn't. It's like it's the wrong thing trying to fix the thinking. So when you're avoiding stuff, there's sometimes things that you don't even realize that need to create that shift. And then you can actually, because if you put things down that you intend to do and you don't do them, it's not because you're bad person or a terrible person that you can't get a business. It's because there's something that you simply cannot see, a lack of clarity in the moment, something that needs to be understood. But one of the best things to do is to either talk it through or to journal it or to face it. And that is what I had understood from last year. So let's move on to the next area. What are you grateful for? And what do you want to improve next month? Because this is a pathway to progress, not in pursuit of perfection. What are you grateful for? I'm really grateful that it might have taken me 3 weeks to see it, and I might not have achieved all my goals or even half of them for June, but I'm now more wiser about the journey that needs to happen for next month, as it were. So what are you grateful for and what do you want to improve? Okay, so having a look at that, what are you grateful for? There was a point recently where I couldn't even remember what happy was when I was waking up. And you suddenly remember you can tap into true gratefulness at different points. So I, for one, am grateful for my family. There's so much love in our family, despite so much stress half the time. And I just wrote, it's not about getting out the other side of the tunnel. It's often about turning on a light in the darkness. Grateful for clients, I'm grateful for Insight Grace, and that there's always a new moment to kind of pop yourself out your thinking and stop dilly-dallying and start to make your mission to serve bigger than your fears. And the things that I know I want to improve, is I think sometimes we can just get a visibility plan or stick your Facebook ads up or go to a networking meeting. And the thing that I want to improve next month is actually, what are the details of that? And is it scheduled? And let's just pick one rather than a million things. And just as soon as I know that I'm starting to morph into overthinking, shut the barrier down and just get that one thing done before you move on to the next, and finish those things off that you start. So let's move forward. Now, this is the area that you can fill in. Not always something that people want to do. How much revenue did your business generate? Sometimes you're writing no, 0 or very little each month, or you could be having a great month, etc., when you're sort of writing it down. But let's not use this as a way to shame ourselves. Let's use this as a way to, because as I said, kind of blaming yourself becomes a really interesting habit rather than facing the emotion and the fear and the energy around it. Is just let it kind of realize is like, what do I need to shift in order to change that? What needs to happen in order to be able to start generating the type of money that I really want to in business, because it is possible. And then when you look at your expenses, you might realize that there's things going out that you look at, like I did last month, and go, I don't need to be, why am I doing that? Hopefully not this. And then start to kind of look at it and go, what's net left? Let's look at it, because we can steward all of this in the right direction. And then if you can kind of think, even if you don't know all your numbers yet, maybe you can sort of write down, have a little think about the numbers, things that you've spent, things that you know that you look at, even if you haven't written the numbers down, and think, what is the one thing right now that you want to improve about the finances next month? And you'll probably know pretty quickly what that is. So let's have a look here. What aspect of your work do you love and is working well? So the things that whether you're getting paid for the work right now, whether you're hoping to get paid, whether you're getting paid from lots of different clients, etc., in lots of different ways, or you're bringing money in differently, what aspect of the work? It might be that you're suddenly receiving passive income from something. It could be that you're loving one-to-one and not group, or group and not one-to-one, etc., or there's a particular aspect of the part of your work you love, and the others that you don't. For instance, you might love sitting there doing the finances of it, but not the admin of it. Or it might be that you love having the coaching with clients, but you don't love having the sales conversation. But highlighting these areas in business both gives us an opportunity to look at our strengths, our weaknesses, where we're skilled, where we're not skilled, because all of that is going to have an effect on the way that we can move forward. So what aspect of your work do you love, or is working well for you, and you're seeing results from it? In other words, you're doing it and it's having a desired result. And what aspect is that you're doing that you think might have had some good results, or it's either not generating results, or it just isn't working for you in one way or another. So let's just have a little think of that, because inside those two places are decision-making opportunities, facing things rather than just letting them drip on, and making a decision into your next month that makes a difference. We don't need to go on 90 days or 6 months or another year to realize that we've lived the same year twice. We can change that in 30 days. So take your time and have a little look at those two. And coming into these ones, I normally say what one idea is coming to you right now to make a small shift in a better direction. So we'll just take that question first. And often it's that first thought, best thought idea. Like, so we're not sort of trying to find too many things. When you look back at the aspects of the things that are working that you love, or that things you've done that seem to be, that light you up, or that have generated great conversations, good results for you, and the things that either aren't working or are not generating the results for you, if you look at both of those things, what's the first idea that comes to mind to make a shift in a better direction? What's that one idea that hits you straight away? And once you've had that idea, take that idea one step further, and from that main idea, what can you pull out of that you can see would make a significant difference to moving your business forward? And what I mean by that, it could be moving your business forward that it gets more visibility, or that it leads to better client conversations, or it brings in more money because it has more sales conversations, or it frees you up to do something different. So it's going to come from that one idea that you've just written down. So what's that one aspect that you can see out of that is going to move it, that you think is that you want to focus on or put your attention on, about that 1 degree habit change, that you can kind of go, okay, I'm going to face that, and I'm going to look at that during the next 30 days. Okay, nice to see you join us, Michaela. We are a little way into things, but I'll just give you a chance to catch up a little bit by going over a couple of these aspects. So when I look at aspects of the work that I love that are working well and things that weren't, the first thing that I look at, because of the stage of business that I'm at, is the need that I'm actually quite enjoying this idea of managing things. After 14 years of doing everything, the idea of delegating and managing, I'm quite enjoying that, freeing my time up for something else. But I had to, as I said earlier, I didn't realize in June that there was things I had to let go of in order to suddenly even take on, kind of go in that direction. And when I look at what isn't working, I suddenly realize, okay, while I'm still hanging on to doing all the little faffy bits in the middle, I can't give my attention to planning lead generation, or planning how we're going to market, etc., and do that. It's just too easy to stay in that half light of one foot in one camp and one foot in the other, and actually not making very much efficient, as it were. So I knew that the idea was I need to move into delegation. But one aspect that moves the business forward is actually, well, what areas of delegation? And to realize that you're going to delegate, you actually have to sit down, and it's going to it's like slowing down to speed up, because you now have to decide which areas you're going to give over for somebody else to do, for me anyway, or which areas that somebody is going to take over, and particularly looking at lead generation. So it might be follow-up emails, it might be stuff for me. Whereas normally it's I just bang them off, or it's easier, but actually it's not easier. It's not easier in the long term. And making a significant shift will make a difference, but it's not a momentum thing. It's a slow down to put these things in place so that it can start actually doing a different job. So I'm just going to come out of share a moment, because let me just pause. Okay, so we've looked at the aspects that we want to move forward with, and we'll look at the section here, clients, audience and visibility. This is great to fill in, regardless of whether you're using it or not, because data tells a story. We can look at email subscribers. If we've gained 2 email subscribers this month and we've lost 12, we could look at that and say, I'm a complete failure at what I'm doing. Or we can realize that we've gained 2 of the right kind of people and we've lost 12 of the wrong. So numbers are simply a reflection of our visibility and our sort of having our stuff in front of the right people. And it helps us to make really great decisions on this platform versus that platform, this thing this month versus something else this month, etc. Not necessarily all at the same time. I highly advise that we don't do this all at the same time, but that we actually simply put the numbers down and let wisdom guide as to which thing you need to focus on next. And some of it might be very logical and obvious. And if there's any new customers, if we're worried about, have we got enough money to pay the bills, and we realize that we haven't had any new customers, that is going to show up here. So the simplest thing about making more money in our business is we have to be able to sell more to more people more of the time. And all we need to do is what is the next step to enable me to do that? So have a little think a second, and it's either a yes or a no, and you can just nothing around it. But did you have potential opportunities that might have led to a sales conversation? Did you take them? I can think of several right now where I didn't take potential opportunities, and one actually that has turned into an opportunity. It's turned into work. And in the initial email, I was like, oh, I don't know whether I want to do that. And I had some fears around, can I do that? What if they ask for this from me and I can't do that? And I sat with it for about, I don't know, 3 or 4 days. And then another email comes and said, did you get my last email? And I felt, oh, I need to reply to you. And it was actually to do with a singer, because I don't really actively take on music students anymore. It's not the business that I'm running right now. And then I stopped and I was like, is the only reason that you're saying no to this right now because you're worried that we'll ask you to come to the house and play the piano and you don't want to do that? What is it? So I had the conversation because I thought, I'm making up stories as to why I'm saying no to this opportunity. And I don't know the parameters of it. So I had the phone call and realised immediately that I thought, well, I'm not going to change my pricing. They're either going to say no or yes. And suddenly it was a yes. And I was like, do you know what? For some reason, that needs to come into my world right now. And I nearly said no to it because of all of the assumptions and the thinking and the little fears that I was believing were true about that opportunity. So that little story might kind of just help to think is like, are there opportunities that you're saying no to because we've got a story about, or a prejudice around it, or a preference around it, before really exploring it and actually then making a considered decision on the other end of it? So I know that I can say no. Last month I did not follow up on all of my potential opportunities. And were there any past clients or any past opportunities of people you spoke to that you went back and followed up? The actual statistics are that It takes anything from 11 different opportunities of following up on people and opportunities. And we go, oh, I don't want to follow, I don't want to message you. I don't want you to think I'm hassling you, or I don't want you to think this about me. And actually, most of the time, those opportunities can turn into paying business or a conversation with a good follow-up. Do we have a follow-up system? Do we have an ability to look at the people that we've spoken to in the last 6 months or the last year and say, just checking in, how are you doing and what's going on in your business? And it would be great to catch up, because people that have already bought from us are far more likely to buy from us again. And we could be looking for trying to build trust with a whole bunch of new people. And then there's people sitting right on our doorstep that we simply are saying, oh, I don't think I can contact them because, and the because is whichever bit of story we've made up in the moment. So anybody that you look and go, right now, have a think, is there anybody coming to mind that you want to recontact and just check in with? And it might feel a bit scary to do it, but on the other side of that fear, if you put fear, almost like if we don't make fear bigger than who we are, on the other side of that could be a really interesting conversation. So just have a little think and write down anybody that comes to mind that you think, I haven't contacted them in a while. So moving on to goal setting. We're going to look at what is your main focus for July. And that main focus is just think about where your business is right now. There's a million things that we could do. I said earlier on in our call, sitting at the computer for 12 hours a day or 5 hours a day or 4 hours a day does not constitute working necessarily. But if you think about your business right now, not the things that you think you should do with a guilt attached to it, but look at it where it is. What's one aspect? What is the thing that you know, if you had completed, or that project, if you put a 30-day project around this in the next month, that you'll be able to see some new growth or some new data, or you'll be able to potentially have a way to bring clients in, or something that is going to make a difference to the growth or the health of your business this month. So have a little think, what focus is going to be your July? And in light of that main goal, let's look at three, that main intention and focus for your month. What three aspects of that are going to mean that you'll be able to test and measure whether you've achieved that in 30 days' time? So make it congruent with that main focus. And thinking back to your top goal and your top sort of focus and your 3 goals. There's a million things that you could actually do to even kind of go in the direction of whichever sort of goals you've got. But if you were to think of those, is there some best and some simplest strategies or the way that you want to do that coming to you? What feels simple? Einstein says, any fool can overcomplicate things. It takes a genius to make it simple. So let's bring our genius to the fore. And when you look at those 3 goals, how can you what's the simplest thing that you're going to, sort of start to chunk down and implement? And then have a little look down here and just list a couple of the, there's more to do, but list a couple of the tasks that need to be completed. And you might just find there's always going to be more that kind of come, but let's just have some of the bigger ones that you go, okay, those, if I'm going to kind of do some of these things, what tasks do need to be involved in that planning? And with some of these things here, thinking into July and some of those tasks, there's always more, but you might have just identified maybe here what I call the milestones in the month. Not the millions of little things, but the bigger milestones that they'll just have some tasks to break down within them. But just have a look. If you've got more than, say, 5 sort of tasks in there or milestones, think about that. But when are you going to complete just the ones that you've actually written down on that list, first of all, before the mind morphs and mushrooms into adding more in? When are you going to complete the things that you've just written above? Okay, so while you're doing that, okay, so talking about once you've made your main focus, the problem with making a main focus being systems, say, around visibility, or even as I've put, systems around lead generation, whatever it is. If we think of the systems around visibility, that is us thinking, in order for me to be visible, I need a system in place. Now, that can be true, but it would be, but it's simpler to actually go, this month I'm focusing on visibility. Which aspect of visibility, or where do I want to be visible first? Where do I want to focus my visibility? Because if we look at visibility, it's marketing, okay? Okay, it's marketing. And there are several channels of marketing, from podcasting to blogging to physical networking to, paid ads to PR to TV ads to social media content writing to a whole, like there are, wherever there is a platform for a human being to find out about your business, there is a channel to some degree to bring that person, that you can kind of do to bring that person into your world, or for that person to either become visible to you or you to become visible to that person. So with that in mind, with all of those opportunities and channels that are available to us to become more visible, our business to become more visible, or the work, or a way for people to make themselves visible to us, there's a million different, there's loads of different ways. Which of those things, if you had to pick, say, think you've got, say, visibility, or I've got lead generation, if you can only do if you can only do maybe 3 things or 3 projects in 30 days to create more visibility, or to create shall we say, a communication channel that you can then go to over and over again. You can get a communication channel in place, as it were. Which ones would you choose?
Yeah, so Instagram.
Okay.
Actually, I'm just starting my email list now. So okay, so I have the lead magnet, right? Okay. But I haven't, it's not ready for going out yet.
So that is a form of visibility, but I would class as that's a form of nurturing people that have already come onto your email list to create more trust. So let's talk visibility that is about creating awareness in the marketplace of who you are.
Yeah.
So so you've got Instagram as one.
Yes. I don't know about Facebook, and
we'll just have one channel. So if you had, say, okay, put goal one of like Instagram as a channel. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you've decided, say, your main focus this month could be, it's got visibility. Okay. So one of your goals is maybe to create your Instagram channel in a way that could lead to people coming to your email list.
Yeah, I'll be flogging my lead magnet. This month is all about flogging my lead magnet. So it's kind of putting it everywhere.
Yeah.
So in multiple places, like in Instagram, my Instagram, a Facebook, I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to do something there or not. It kind of makes sense too, because that's where I have the most connections. Yeah. And LinkedIn, I have people wanting to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm just,
You want to, so I let them go, who do you want? So here's what I'd say is, okay, if you've got your lead magnet, you want to do more visibility this month in the next 30 days, and you don't quite know what's going to result from that, but you want to get your lead magnet out and see if you can, see who downloads that lead magnet and who's on your, and who comes onto that email list. So pick three, initially just pick three, so there's there's different ways of doing visibility, i.e. you could use what I call social, use your social media channels, okay? So you could put, where am I going to get that lead magnet? In other words, that lead magnet is the thing, but you're going to create, so you're going to create visibility using your lead magnet over the next 30 days. That makes it much more simple, okay?
Yes.
At the end, you'll be able to see at the end of 30 days which channels downloaded it most. So just pick your channels. But here's the deal, right? Visibility without, visibility is one thing. Getting that lead magnet in front of the wrong people won't help your credibility or visibility. So what you can start to do is, okay, so you can have maybe a week, have a week or so where you can go, okay, I'm going to, in the next week, I'm going to get it out on 3 different channels, okay? And I'm going to promote that lead magnet through a different post 3 days this week on these 3 channels. So it's just doable. Make it doable. If it's not doable, if you just go, I'm going to get it out everywhere, that is a recipe for confusion, because that's not a plan.
Yeah.
That's not tangible. It's not tasks. You can't say it's going to take me, I'm going to put aside 30 minutes every day between sort of, 2 and 3:30, where I'm going to go onto Instagram and create another post and the things, and I'm going to put the lead magnet in there and see, and find another, because I like to do things intuitively. I'm just going to kind of follow my inspiration. Everything's got to lead to why I'm posting the lead magnet, but I can be quite free for the next week to see what I'm, to post some things. And if I start with, say, 3 times this week rather than every day, I'm not setting myself up for the fall. If I do it every day, great. But if I say 3 times this week, then at least I know I've got a day off in between and I'm not trying to set myself up for a failure. Okay. It's always easy to add more, next thing is that it's like, okay, well, where else, if I've got a lead magnet, where the next thing that makes sense is, okay, so I'm going to kind of get it out for the first week. The second week, I still want to get my lead magnet out. Where else am I going to focus in week 2? I might look and go, I might get a little bit more intentional, and I might go, okay, on my Instagram, how many followers have I got, or how many people is it going out to? Say, for if it's LinkedIn and people want to connect with me all the time, I look and go, well, it's okay if every Tom, Dick and Harry wants to connect with me, but if they are a funnel builder or if they're a social media manager, they are not my ideal client. So maybe I can actually start to, in LinkedIn, go in the little search bar and, or even I can, put some things on a few 20 minutes to comment on a few posts that, that seem to take my fancy or whatever. And maybe I can cultivate, maybe I can start to connect myself with a couple of people that I think might be my type of ideal client. I'm not saying that, we know where they are, but it might be you want to connect with leaders. It might be that you want to connect with women locally to you and start there and sort of see who's in your locale in business. And have and start with those and form them. So what I call cultivating your audience. And then when you put your posts out, you actually, and you've got a lead magnet, then you actually can, it's going to people who actually might see it and be interested in it.
Sure.
So when we say to ourselves, I'm not finishing anything, I'm not consistent, I need to be more this, I need to have systems in order to be more visibility. I start to question that, because it's a really interesting smoke screen. We actually, depending on what that visibility is like you could go and post a link right now to your lead magnet. Okay, go post it right now. Or you go, actually, I know I can't post the link to my lead magnet because it's not hooked up to the system yet. So you go, okay, my only task right now is to hook it up to the system. And that gets a frustration in us, because there are so many, sometimes what we realize is we are just so used to listening to milestones, i.e. grow your audience, get on a podcast, give them a download, get them on your email list, nurture them, offer them something. They are milestones, they are not small steps.
Yeah.
Now, the whole of marketing and narrative in the world of business is giving an overview of things, but we sometimes look at the overview and we simply don't understand that overview, that's like going, I'd like to get to Russia. Well, you get to France and then you go through Germany and then you take a plane to here and you fly there. I'm like, that as like on the ground, if I wanted to get to Russia, can you imagine every ounce of the journey here and there that would go on? I haven't got a clue. Like, I can put the stages, I can know the stages, I can even put certain aspects in place of the stages, but I certainly can't know when I'm on the ground, how long each of the pieces of that journey is actually going to take place, unless that says the plane journey, the plane journey is 3 hours to Greece, right, from where I am or something. But that's not quite true, because I have to leave my house, I have to get a taxi, I have to get that taxi, it's going to take me half an hour to get to the centre of Cardiff, and then from the centre of Cardiff I'm going to have to wait for the bus, and then the coach is going to come and I'm going to get on the coach, and it's going to be probably about an hour and a half, unless it's not delayed by traffic, in which case it could be 2 hours to actually get to the airport. And then at the airport I could be waiting 2-3 hours to even get on the plane, or I could have my flight completely cancelled right now and be waiting 24 hours plus to get on said train. And so all along the journey there are estimated and expected times that do and don't pan out in our understanding, because there's just no way of knowing how long certain things take to do. Mm-hmm. Unless we're doing them on a repeated basis, when we can start to look at, okay, well, now that I've done it once or twice, it makes sense to not do this or to do this instead of this. So the bit I wanted to kind of mention about when you said I need a system in order to be visible, I want to say is no, you need to just go get visible, and then the bits that need to be systemized will start to become obvious to you. It's the other way around. Otherwise, we're back to that state of I can't until, I can't because. Whereas because we know it's going to be a bit random to start with and there's not going to be any system around it, so comfortable not to do that, because of course it's more manual. But you're only going to need to do it once or twice before wisdom has gone and said, do you know what, it would make sense to me if I'm not following up on these people that I'm going to these networking events with. So how do I want to do that? Do I want to kind of make sure is this the right networking event? There's only 3 people I want to follow up with. Okay, when am I going to do that? I might do that first thing the following morning. So I then say, okay, with that, I just put some, then I can put in my diary, follow up with those 3 people within 24 hours of that networking meeting. That becomes a very first off simple system. If you then are starting to go to different things regularly, or you're having different conversations, you can kind of go, okay, well, I might want to I've now got an assistant and I've got lots of opportunities coming my way, I might need to sort of get my assistant to sort of field those a little bit and filter them to me and go, which opportunities do you want to take? And then I say, well, I want to do this, this, and this. Can you reply to them? And she goes and sets them up. Different system for a different phase in the business. But it is a really subtle form of procrastination through perfectionism and fear of it being too much and overwhelming. So we go, well, I need a system before I can do this, because if I can see it all neatly laid out, then it'll be easier to work it. Where do you think a system comes from? It comes from you doing the doing and then kind of putting some processes in place and then refining those processes all of the time.
Right.
There's never a case in any business, big or small, where they are not reworking those processes for more greater efficiency or greater results at any stage of the business. So I think sometimes we want to put this set it and forget it thing in, when really what we have to realize is business is never set it and forget it. Even if you've got a whole load of automation in place, if you're not testing those links and those automations, you can find that customers are, potential people are coming onto a website, as I did yesterday, and I click on one of the links and it goes to a 404 and the person doesn't even know it's not working. Well, I'm straight off the website. So there is never a point where we don't need to be checking on the systems that we put in place. The issue is we don't want to try and overcomplicate it if there's just you, me, and I, and we don't have very many tech skills and we don't have very much time. To me, it's a case of going out and getting visible, whether that be booking a speaking event, and when I say that, it's like going, speaking at the local networking event, or phoning somebody up and saying, I'd like to do a talk on mental health, and to the women's group here and setting that up. And at the end of that, realizing, well, okay, well, I don't even have the lead magnet set up, so I can't do the speaking. Absolutely not. You go, okay, I know that I don't have the system. Let's not stop myself at this point. Let's just go, if you're interested in this, can you make yourself known to me and I'll take your email address and I'll make sure you get it. We're just setting up the system. And then next time I'll go, actually, I don't need to do that manually anymore. Let's make sure that I can just give them a link and then they can go and download it. So you start to build up your systems when you realize that something is inefficient if you're going to do it over and over again. But you start to realize what's right for you, not what's right. So again, what's right for you in the moment in time, not what's right. So I would say it's the opposite. It's find 3 paths to visibility that you want to test. Maybe one, just try, if it feels overwhelming, just do one week. And sort of maybe just set yourself kind of like, I'm just going to post 3 times a week. And then when you go into the following week, go, okay, now I got to continue this while I add that. So do I want to drop this for a week, or do I want to continue this and add that to it? If I do, how am I going to do it? How am I going to keep this habit up while adding a new one in? So you start to become consistent with a smaller amount of things that you can see where the most logical next step, smaller processes for you to make that easier to add something else onto your plate without it all falling apart at the seams or not doing it at all.
Yeah.
We cannot be, when they say be everywhere all in one go, we only can once we've built that up brick by brick, system, kind of like pipeline by pipeline, as it were, sort of route by route. There is not enough hours in the day when you start off, or probably money in the bank or people around us to be able to be everywhere and to put every channel in place for it all to just be this constant lead flow to us. It's possible. That's the reason why we get frustrated, because we're seeing that for businesses that are further advanced to us, and we think that the only way it can work really brilliantly is if that's in place. But actually life has not given us that. It's going, okay, so you've got the seed in the ground, So we're going to have a little stalk and 1 or 2 leaves first. Let's just grow that. Let's start there. And then let's kind of go, okay, I'm ready for another bit. Okay, so without losing ground on that, how can I add the next bit? And then the next tiny decision. And what you realize is what seems like a tiny decision going nowhere becomes, you know, lots of steps that you look back after 30 days and you realize you've got a process and a pipeline in place that works for you right now. At some point it probably will shift, but it works for you right now and it's doable. And you can see which bits are not doable. And it's about kind of just, it's, when I say it's breaking it down, but it's taking one element of it. Because if we try and do too many steps in one go, we will find a way to self-protect ourselves from the overwhelm that brings. And then we'll say, well, I can't do this without a system. Can't do this without a process. Can't do this unless I do this first. I can't do this unless the family's sorted before I do this. I can't do this because, and then you don't realize that we're actually blaming an outside, we're trying to attribute our success to an outside system or attribute blame to an outside situation. And yet the whole thing is created from the inside. Remember, there is never a problem until we think there's one. I can't have visibility without a system. That's made up. Mm-hmm. What you might want to say is, I'm going to be visible, and then I'm going to look at what are simple systems for consistent visibility I can start to think about that might be useful for me. That's a very different question to ask yourself at a very different point. That is a question that you ask yourself after you have created, you've gone out for a week and gone, do you know what, I'm just repeating myself and I really don't like to do this every single day. I think I might like to try and schedule this. How am I going to do that? But that only happens after you've experienced the thing, and people want to try and not have to experience the learning that leads to what the new decision is, because we don't want to waste our time. I don't want to do this for a whole week and realize that I need a system. Let's just find a system now. You don't know what system you want and need until you've done it. Yeah. And that is the key. So last year I did a whole lot of different events, and those events were successful for us. But I found myself this year going, but I don't kind of want to do it like that anymore, or how could I do it differently? But unless I'd have actually experienced the event in the first place, I've got no way of making an informed decision on what will be a good way forward or not.
Yeah.
End of. So that's the way to connect to your goals, is to do something. And as soon as you find it disconnecting, as soon as you find that you've gone into big picture thinking and you've come away from what feels like the next step to do, you kind of just, oh, look, I'm at it again. And this is the way people goal set all the time. They simply don't review what the steps are. They don't take that review. We all do it. We go put networking down, I put speaking down, and then I go, well, there's a million ways of places I could network. Okay, what's 1 or 2 places, or let's just say, okay, for 30 days, I'm actually going to only focus on this one network. And I'm maybe going to focus on making sure I identify people through just for 30 days in this one network that I'm going to have my conversations with. But what about all the other things I might be missing? I can add them in next month or the month after. Let's really exhaust this network for 30 days. Let's really exhaust me putting this out in this platform for 30 days. And let's see what I learn when I focus myself in one direction.
Yeah.
Just we think we have to have it all in place in order to do it all. Or we think in order to have any success at all, we need to keep widening the aperture so that we see more, just in case we miss something, an opportunity. And I'm like going, as soon as you widen the aperture too much, now you've got so much to look at, you actually don't know which one to focus on. And the only way to do it is like, have a look, see what takes your eye, and then close in on it That's what eagles do. Eagles go up, 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 up. They zoom out. They take a look, because they've got eagle eye and they know what they're looking for. They suddenly see that vole and they go. They don't go, oh look, I see the vole. Oh look, I see another one over there. And then there's a mouse. And there's such a, oh my God, I don't know which one to know for. Oh, what am I going to eat tonight? What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? Oh, I don't know. Let me just fly for a bit. Oh, just sit on the rock. Oh God, look at the, oh God, he's gone down a hole. Oh, bugger it, I've missed him. You never see that in nature. There's an instinctive nature to go, okay, I'll fly up high. I'll get an overview of it. This is what your goal setting is. I'll get an overview and then I will, and that's what we've done at the first part of this goal setting, an intention setting. It's like, I've looked broadly at all of these things in my business. And now for this next 30 days, I've seen my mouse.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go. I mean, have you ever seen an eagle fly up and go, oh, I'm seeing a mouse, I'm seeing a vole. Oh, look at him down there. Oh, what should I do? Oh, let me just fly around a bit. Not sure. Do I fancy vole for dinner? Do I fancy mouse? Oh, look, rat. Oh, maybe. Oh, we had rat last night. Like, you just never see that.
Yeah.
That decision, that indecision, that kind of holding the aperture so wide for so long doesn't give the eagle its dinner. You just can't imagine it sitting on the rock going, I just don't know, I can't choose, vole, rat, mouse, oh God, oh no, don't. Oh, look at the, oh no, maybe I shouldn't, oh, maybe I'll ask that eagle, oh, just maybe I won't have dinner tonight. You just don't see that. And that's what we act like as humans, because we've got the power of thought. They've got the power of instinctive action, guided by wisdom in the moment. DNA is in there. They see it, they realize what they're going for, and they hone in and they zoom in and they go in and they get the vole and they get the mouse and they get dinner. And then what they do is, once they've done that, then they go, let's fly high again, let's circle around a little bit, let's see what else is out there. And then they zoom in. They never zoom out and stay zoomed out looking at the big picture too long.
Yeah.
Because there's too much to see in the big picture. And big picture is fab because it gives you the overview, but it does not give you the focus. It's there to decide what out of that big picture do I want to focus on in the next 30 days. And then you just go after that, just for 30 days, which is why we do it like this, which is why I know it's so powerful. And then when you look at it, like I did last month, and go, I didn't do anything on that. I didn't even look at it. No self-judgment. How curious, why am I, what was behind that? What habit is behind that? Can I bear to face that without self-judgment? Can I bear to face that? Oh, but I don't want to have to apply myself to that. I don't want to have to, because I really get, I mean, I like that. You know, I like that freedom, that flexibility. Oh, but at the same time, I really want the vole. I love flying and I love that and I love creativity. But I really want that too. Well, we've got to come down from that to have that. Doesn't mean we have to stay like, okay, got the one vole, right, vole. Oh, I've got to stay down here. You never see that. Then the eagle will get the vole, get the thing done, and you go fly high. What else? What else? Then that. What else? What else? Then that.
Yeah.
I just think it's such a good analogy, because that's the idea for me behind having an eagle eye, because they can spot from miles away where they need to be going, and then that's their only focus until you've got it. Then they can re-choose. And some of us, just personality wise, we're great starters and not great finishers. So sometimes it's helpful then to have people around you, if you could hire them at some point, that are great finishers. Or we realize that for this point in my life and my time, it's really important for me to learn how to finish some things. So let's make sure that I am finishing it. And by the time I face that in myself, by the time I delegate, I won't be abdicating. I will be truly leading from a different place. So I know that there are other things on the back of this that other people can carry on with. And I will just quickly share, we're not going to go over them now, but these are the things that you will take away and complete, just like the finances and the numbers, into the rest of your goal setting. And I hope this has helped for goal setting in a way of that can make it doable, rather than just add loads of bunch of stuff that you don't do. So then you can start to get eagle-eyed. Well, how much do you want to generate? Is it a big thing? Is it a little thing? If it's a big thing, am I just kind of doing that with no plan of how I'm going to focus in on that? Or, you know, how am I going to break that down? And again, what do you want to do to ensure that happens? You know, if I spot what I want to do, sometimes we just don't see how that's going to happen. We just put, I'll do this, and you know, put what leads to that. So it's the things that lead to that, not the aspirational things, which is the big picture. It's the little kind of like, it's when you focus in, it's like, what needs to do? I need to fly in this direction. I need to land here. I need to do this. And then it's kind of like, okay, if I'm serious about getting this, I'm going to put this in my diary, and I'm just going to notice if I don't keep my appointment with myself, how interesting I don't value my own plans and my own commitments and my own direction as much as I value being called by a friend for coffee, or if I value picking up that extra bit of learning, or I value just kind of just scrolling through my email list. How interesting that I value everybody else's pulling on my attention than my focus on what's important to me. Let's just get clear on what's important to me and the business, and sit with that without judgment. So then to really see great results, we've got to aim for that thing, and aiming for the type of people that are going to see your lead magnet or see my lead generation activities. That is going to be helpful. So every single month we're probably seeing new things from conversations that people are struggling with. It'd be variations on a theme. What are some of the things that we're saying? We can put some posts out of that for a week or two. And not just that, we can maybe speak on that. We can have a conversation around that. But again, it points us in the direction of realizing what situations people find themselves in. And that helps us to articulate our message so much clearer. And when we're looking at that, we can kind of go, well, why is this situation? Why is it these people? Why is it me? And why is it now that they need this? And so it's just allowing the truth of your message to keep coming through. And we can write a few things, you know, like, why you? Well, I actually realize that I've got experience in this, or I know I feel really drawn to support these type of women or these type of men, etc. Why do they need to be looking at this now? Well, because. And so it's just giving us thought around the message for this month. And who else is speaking on this topic? So there's always other coaches, there's always other people out there, or other courses, or other companies that are maybe further ahead in the business game that we're doing. How are they speaking about the topic? Can I be influenced by that in a good way when I'm out of inspiration? Because they're thinking and they're employing teams of people to say this stuff. So maybe I can be influenced in a good way to play with my message out in the marketplace and see what happens. And then what topics around that, once you kind of have to think about where you want to focus in on, is there anything, so think about it tied to the goal, like if it's around the lead magnet or getting the lead magnet out, tied to that goal, what do you want to be saying that downloading the lead magnet just this month is going to make it a no-brainer for people? That can keep us focused as well. And then we've got some space here to take it a little bit further of 3 situations, 3 problems that the audience is facing that you're going to talk about in your talks, posts, conversations, networking. Keep the same theme throughout, where the answer to that is download the lead magnet, do that, book a call. And then you can look and go between 1 and 3 max. So if you find that taking 3 is overwhelming, choose one thing for 30 days that you are going to use for visibility this month, and have the courage to stick to that 1 to maximum 3 things at whatever level we do. One might be slightly deeper than another, but at whatever level that is, stick to that for 30 days. It'll be a very interesting challenge, because it shows us when we it shows us how quickly we tend to skim the surface of everything rather than master one thing. And I'll kind of leave it. When I asked my mentor, what should I focus on? He said to me, he says, I'll tell you this, Angela, everybody at the minute, he said, is trying to do a little bit across a lot. He said, master one way, one channel, one thing at a time, and double down on that. Because when you become a master of it, you will see way more from it. So whether it is something like Facebook ads for me, and I'm just at the skimming of the surface, whether it's speaking, where I've got much more depth of experience on, and I want to take that at an even deeper level again, whether it's LinkedIn, and I'm not really very overly active on certain things on LinkedIn. I do a smattering of it. Maybe I make it my goal for 30 days to be more active on LinkedIn, or to just get a little deeper depth around it. Maybe I want to listen to a free kind of tips thing on it, and I'm going to implement those tips things rather than just listen, with the goal being whatever I do, I implement. So I'm not going to actually put too much in front of my vision, because I know how easy it is to just take in information and not implement any of it. So if somebody says prime your profile and set it out this way, then we don't do the next bit until I've done that. We take it to a greater depth, rather than we just go, I'll skim the whole lot and then I'll hold in. Sometimes that works, but sometimes it's kind of like, okay, I've decided I've skimmed the lot and go, all of my social media, I'm going to focus on LinkedIn, skimmed out, brilliant. Now, okay, which bit of LinkedIn do I want to do? Lads, do I want to focus on connections? Do I want to focus on audience? Do I want to focus on pro? Okay, if I want to create more audience, let's just get this in order. Let's focus on, get my profile sorted. And then I can start to look at who I want to connect with. And then I can look at creating some content and seeing what they, sometimes people that watch you never sort of reply to your content, and others do. So I can kind of do those, and those that maybe reply to it or whatever, I can maybe kind of maybe connect with them, maybe not, depending on what. Have a look and go, is this the type of person that's in my audience that I'd like to connect with? Is this type of person? If it's somebody that is an oil driller in Texas, maybe not, it's got no relevance to me. He might want to connect with me, but no relevance. And I can't justify it by saying he might have people in his network. So the algorithm then will only show it to more of the same that are liking and commenting. So so whichever bit, I can just go, okay, well, for 30 days, I'm going to go into that platform and I'm going to set everything up in that platform. That's one channel done. And I might do that for the next 30 days after that and go, what's the content for that channel? But it's the intentionality rather than the skimming the surface of everything. Starting little buildings, like starting a little building and then moving on and starting a little building and a little building and a little building and never finishing any building, rather than starting one building, getting the foundations in and building it before I start the next building. Have the courage to do that, I think we'll start to see, we'll get a lot of experience and we'll see a lot more and less confusion. So have a great rest of your month, filling in the rest of that, as it were, and Yes, making progress, getting depth, simplifying, getting clear. And when you feel disconnected, doing what you need to do, which is reconnect it, which is not add more in to reconnect, but or to disconnect yourself or to numb out. It's to take off everything and look at that one, go back to the thing that you're numbing out, go back to the thing that you're disconnected from, and just look at that one aspect and just connect to one aspect of it, not all aspects of it.